Welcome, everyone, to the SI Media with Jimmy Traina podcast. Hope you're doing well. We have a great show this week. Richard Jefferson from ESPN, his own podcast, does some local work here in New York on the Yes Network, comes on to talk about his rise in sports media, what his ultimate goal is, studio versus calling games, and the important role that social media has played in his career. If you're not aware, Richard is huge on TikTok, 1.4 million followers. And we also get into some NBA topics, load management, Ja Morant, a couple of other things. So really good stuff from Richard Jefferson, who is pretty honest and doesn't really hold anything back. So appreciated him during the interview. And then Sal Licata, as always, joins me for the Train of Thought segment following the interview with Richard Jefferson. If you've missed any recent episodes of the SI Media podcast, subscribe to the pod and then go into the archives and check them out. Last week, we had an all Train of Thoughts edition. 2 weeks ago, Paul Heyman from the WWE. 3 weeks ago, Iron Eagle. So if you missed any of those, check them out and subscribe to the pod. Leave a review. We'll read it on an upcoming episode. All right, let's get to this week's show. Richard Jefferson on his rise in sports media and some NBA stuff, followed by Train of Thoughts with Sal Licata. We get into a bunch of things, the NCAA tournament, World Baseball Classic, the Oscars, and some movie stuff as well. So good segment with Sal. All right, here we go. Richard Jefferson to kick it off this week right here on SI Media with Jimmy Traina. All right, joining me now, man of many jobs, ESPN, Road Trip and Podcast, does a lot, huge influencer on TikTok, NBA ref, Richard Jefferson. RJ, what's going on?
Thanks for having me, Jimmy. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah. You, what did I leave any jobs out? Oh, you do Yes Network sometimes with the Nets.
I do Yes. I do voiceover work for 2K, so I'm on the video game now, which my kids aren't playing video games yet, but at some point in time, they're going to appreciate that. So, yeah, man. Honestly, anything associated with basketball or entertainment, I'm game. Let's go.
Do you have a favorite job?
Calling games, 100% calling games. That's what I ultimately want to transition my primary focus to. When I retired, one of the good things about being in this position is that I wanted to try everything. I wanted to call games. I called college games. I did college studio. I called net. I called everything. I did all this stuff. And the more and more time that I spend doing this profession, the more I know that calling games is my number one thing at this point in time.
It's funny because I feel like I sort of like announcers who are a little different. I consider you a little different, but that could also be an obstacle because the networks and the executives and the suits don't always like different. But I do feel like that's starting to change a little bit. I think McAfee in the NFL sort of maybe broke down some barriers here, but we've been for so many years. It's always been cookie cutter analysts. I don't consider you cookie cutter, and that can work against you and for you. Have you felt that?
I would say in the beginning it works for you because people are very kind of caught off guard. You point at Pat McAfee, Draymond. You look at Kendrick Perkins, JJ Redick, everyone was like, whoa, this is not what we have seen before. This is a different type of, we're the generation that grew up with social media, that grew up in the media doing things. And so I think guys are showing up with a different type of mindset and a different type of voice. Now within that, you have to find it. What I do in studio is very different than what my expectations are for calling games. What I do for calling Nets games is very different than what my expectations are for calling ESPN games. I think the one thing that I've done over the course of this time is start to understand how to get to the elite level. Like if I want to call an NBA Finals after Mark and Jeff and retire in 10 years, whenever it is, if I ever want to call an NBA Finals, there are certain things that I think, like you said, suits and stuff can get in the way. And it's like, well, somewhat, but they're also coaching you. They're also very similar to like a player that needs a coach. It's like, hey, you want to be an all-star? This is what you got to do. You want to be an MVP? This is what you got to do. So I would say in the last couple of years, I've been coached very well. Frank DeGrace at the Nets, Brent Valente with Cleveland was one of the first people that really work with me. And Tim Corrigan at ESPN, who's been Dave Roberts, all those guys have been very, hey, this is how you improve. This is how you get better. So that's what I've been focusing on.
I'd love to hear you, if you don't mind, since you mentioned it. I'm sure the listeners would like this. Give it. You don't have to go into it too detailed, but give us a little taste of like what you need to do differently when you're calling Nets locally on ESPN National Broadcast Studio. Give me what you have to do and don't do for those gigs.
Well, they're all different cadences, right? Like in podcasts, for instance, there is no dead air. There is no crowd. There is no sneaker speaking, like sneaker squeaking. You got to let it breathe. You got to let the crowd get the experience, the chance. You don't want to just be speaking. Podcast, you got to speak the whole time. In studio, you have anywhere from 30 to 15 seconds, between 30 seconds and like 90 seconds to get a thought out, let's say on NBA Today. On First Take, you have 3 minutes to prove your point. So, and that's more of a debate show. So each one has a very different cadence to like how you speak. Like in basketball, like if you're calling a game, you got about 8 to 10 seconds to get your thought out concisely. So you have to learn to use 10 words instead of using 15 words, right? Those are the things that and again, it only comes from experience. I think the one area that athletes don't get enough grace in when they enter into this space, it's like, I didn't do this. I didn't study to go to school for this. This is something I'm passionate about and I enjoy it. I might have some natural ability, but ultimately the guy I'm sitting next to, like Mike Breen, he went to college for this. The guy that I'm sitting next to, Ian Eagle, he's been calling Nets games for 25 years. So 27 years, I think now, or something along those lines. So these guys are polished professionals and people think that we're supposed to sit in here and sound as polished as they are. It takes time. It can take a decade. It can take 15 years. But as long as you're getting better and working on the craft, good things can happen.
You mentioned First Take. Have you ever done First Take?
I did a ton of First Take my first year. When I retired, I started doing Get Up. And now Get Up was like the changeover from when it was Michelle Greeny and Jalen. And then that kind of transitioned to more Greeny and Jalen. So what you see now on Get Up is tons of different analysts. They used to have Ryan Clark, Foxworth, Swagoo, Marcus Spear, all of these guys, we used to all be on Get Up. And then we would go and transfer because the show like right next door would be First Take. So then we would go and do First Take. But because I'm primarily West Coast, I'm the one local analyst that lives in LA, I spend majority of my time doing NBA Today and really supporting, that show.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I don't recall seeing you on First Take. I'm a fairly new First Take viewer since maybe COVID. And you are great at mixing it up. So I thought you'd be perfect on First Take. So I was wondering why we haven't seen you there.
I'm there a little bit. One, Perk eats that up. Perk is much better on First Take than I am. For me, I'm not. Look, I love to argue, but First Take is a debate show. And the skill within First Take is you don't necessarily have to 100% believe it, but let's take like opposite points and see who can create, not necessarily the narrative, but create graphics or statements or facts or stats to back up what they believe. Like First Take is not a show where you will see people agree for an hour, right? Sometimes you just say things to disagree in that moment because that's a debate show. Understand, it is not about 100% about what you believe. It's about, I'm going to be the fan that believes Jokic is MVP. I'm going to be the fan that believes that it's Giannis. Let's make our point and our argument for those two. And sometimes it falls flat because it's just like there's a clear winner, but that's where Stephen A., Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp, these guys are legendary at it.
Yeah, and then you have things, last week you got ugly there with JJ Redick and Kendrick Perkins. And I don't know how you feel about that, but when it gets ugly like that, would you, if you were in that, would you be mortified that it got that way, or would you think like this is the gig and you just
no, I don't think mortified. Mm-hmm. I think when you watch these things and they you can't do television. Jimmy, you've been doing this forever. you can't do this long enough without having something go not as planned or unexpected. And, the JJ, Kendrick thing, I think it was a very nuanced conversation that should be had, right? Like should be had. I'm not referencing is JJ right, if Kendrick's right. Those are two different things. I'm saying whenever you're getting into a nuanced conversation about, things that happen in sports or things that happen in life, like it's a conversation I think that needs to be brought together. This is how we're gonna, I want to say attack it. This is how we're gonna approach it. I want to know what you have to say. I want to know how we have to say it, and then let's take it on air. And I think that's probably the best way to handle it. But Skip Bayless has made mistakes. Shannon Sharp has made mistakes. Stephen A has made mistakes. I've made mistakes. So the problem isn't on those shows. They get crazy heightened as if it's like this, oh my God. It's like, no, like whether you agree with JJ or whether you agree with Perk, one thing I will say in defense of both of them, they are two of the most prepared people that I know, mainly because they have to talk on television for hours every single day. And it doesn't make them right. It just means they're very usually prepared.
Yeah. You have to be wired a certain way, I think, to do that show. Like I couldn't argue about who's the MVP for that long. After a couple of minutes, I'd be like, I don't give a shit. And I'd try to move on with my life.
Shoot, they do 10 games. They do like, all right, who's your MVP? Way too early MVP.
Oh, yeah.
It's 10 games into the season. And you're like, I'm not great at that. I'm not great at that because I do have a little bit like, who gives a shit? Right. Yeah. It's like, guys, we have 90 games to go.
Listen, this MVP debate with, Jokic and Giannis, I feel like there's a legitimate debate there because you can pick either person. I don't think anyone would have a problem with it. But like you said, they do that. It's way worse with the NFL. Week 3 of the NFL, they're breaking down who's the MVP. And it's like, you can't possibly be serious, but I guess enough. Yeah. I was checking I checked all your socials before we started just to see if there's anything I had to ask you about. And you posted a great thing on Instagram a few days ago. It was a meme with Jason Bateman. And it said, arguing with me is pointless. I knew I was wrong 10 minutes ago. I'm just trying to make you mad now. And that is so perfect for one, debate shows, and two, real life. I mean, I'm like that with my friends all the time. I mean, you made a dumb point, they're coming at you, and then you're just pulling anything you can out of your ass to keep the argument going.
Well, and it's part of the fun. It's part of the fun of like, I'm just like, guys, I don't care. Like, I don't have a vote for MVP. So if I'm just arguing your point, and look, at the end of the day, anybody that knows me is I'm a natural contrarian. So if you say something, I'm trying to find the angles around it, and that's just there's businessmen like that, there's lawyers like that. That people, when I was a kid, my parents thought I was either going to be a comedian or a lawyer. So between me arguing and making jokes, I've been doing I've been doing since I was a child, and I think that's the part that I think people they kind of see it at times, like, wow, he's natural at being a smart ass and a dick and also making arguments, and because that's just who I am.
Got it. All right, let me transition. I want to get into a couple of like current NBA topics, but before we do that, I want to touch on social media. I write every year for SI. I write a year-end media awards column, and I named you the Sports TikToker of the Year. There you go. How important is social media to your growth in the sports media industry, do you think? Or do you think it's just a side thing to have fun with?
I think it's both. I think it's both. I didn't use social media when I was a player because I didn't really like social media. That's why I think maybe some people didn't realize, I think my personality when I retired, they were like, wait, Richard is this way, or Richard's funny, or because I just wanted to stay away from social media. I came in an era where we didn't have it. I liked the anonymity of it. I didn't need all that. And then I retired and they were like, Richard, you need a presence because it helps amplify what you say and what you do. Right. Like, so I did some Instagram, I did some Twitter. I don't like Twitter. I have 2,000 tweets in the history of maybe 3,000 in all of Twitter. I'm not a big Twitter guy. Because I think it's just toxic and pointless, and there's nothing there to really be had. But I think TikTok, when I started doing that, I started to understand, the younger audience that's on there. I started engaging with them. I started asking questions with them. I started, we started a TikTok segment on ESPN. And when I tell you, and I'm going to tell everybody this, so we do a TikTok segment on ESPN where I put it on my channels and I say, hey, Tell us your hot take. Tell us who you think should your postseason awards. People submit to that. Now we get 100 submissions. So now you have 100 people that are reposting ESPN, that are reposting NBA Today to their channels. And then after that, we take 5 or 4, and then we comment on the air. So then after we comment on the air, we pull the content, we put it on social media, we send it to these influencers and to these content creators. Now they repost, holy shit, we just made ESPN. And me, Perk, Chanae, Malika, we're all reacting to them. So they feel seen, they feel heard. And every time we've done it, Jimmy, we've gotten millions of views every time we do it. And so you see the power of social. And we were the first ones, NBA Today and, my group that I work with, Content Capital, we were the first ones to ever do this. And when we started pulling numbers, it was like Richard got 800,000 likes on his pages. He's got 3 million views on his pages. And all of that is just eyeballs on ESPN. That's eyeballs on me across multiple platforms and across multiple people. And that's when I started to understand, like, holy shit, like this, as much as people might, TikTok or Instagram, or it's like, no. This is about a reach. This is about a brand growth. This is about getting eyeballs on what I do, what our show on NBA Today does. And we've just seen an instant impact with how social media is being used. And I just feel blessed to be, at the forefront of it.
And you have 1.4 million followers on TikTok, which is just wild. And I think there's still a lot of people, I think, still have the perception that TikTok is for, kids in high school. And, I'm not taking a shot at your age here.
No. They haven't been, you haven't been on it. That's the thing. If you haven't been on it, then you don't understand. It's kind of like this. The best way to describe it is like, how there's NBA Twitter, there's Beyonce Twitter, there's NFL Twitter, there's political Twitter, and those are powerful voices. Where it's the same with TikTok, except I think the reach is bigger. There could be chef TikTok, there could be athlete talk and gym talk and basketball, and so it's like there's these huge reaches that you can have, that you can reach massive audience on that space. And so, I laughed about it and I waited. And then when I got on it and I saw the power, every single time I walk into an arena, there's nothing but 10-year-olds to 40-year-olds saying they follow me on TikTok. Yeah. And so anybody that thinks it's just for kids means you haven't been on it.
I want to get into like your posting, but I'm not proud to admit this, but I probably spend like 2 hours a day scrolling through TikTok, especially
nothing wrong with that.
Give me like, what's your daily rundown there? Like, how long are you scrolling through TikTok?
Well, a lot of times I scroll through my mentions, and we're in a new world now. Before it was taboo to scroll through your mentions. Now I just look for it to engage with people. I look for it's like, who's mentioning me, who's tagging me, so I can comment on a video, so I can use that video and do a reaction to it or talk about it. Even my referee stuff. Like I just started putting on the referee jersey and calling travels or calling block charges or just having fun with it. And I think that's kind of what people need to understand, and what I was blessed to kind of get a little bit of a grasp of is like, if you are a new media person, if you are an athlete coming out, you got to do a podcast. Right. You got to have a social presence. You have to repost all of your stuff. You have to include your reach. These are all, I've lost out to jobs like trying to host or trying to do something because they're like, we're going to get this YouTube follower that has 5 million subscribers. We're going to get this Instagram person that has 3 million subscribers. So it's like, I need to grow my base to grow my brand. And that's really all it is.
Well, I hope it wasn't a good job.
Any job that you lose out on is a good job potentially, but it wasn't meant for me. But these are just the things that happen.
Okay, so you mentioned a company before. So you're not doing everything yourself on social media? Okay.
No.
That makes me feel better because I feel so inadequate.
I avoided it. And so I started working with a group. It's called Content Capital. And they run Emmanuel Acho, DeAndre Hopkins. They run a bunch of different social people. Matt Leinart just got on, and Matt Leinart is one of the funniest follows. I don't know if you guys have people at home, go check him out. He's doing great. But a lot of it is just more of like, you can't do it. I have 9 jobs, as you said. So I hired a company, which one of the reasons why I talk about it is because I think if you're a content creator, there's a lot of pressure. And it's like, guys, what if you see me and you're like, oh, he can do it? It's like, Richard has help. I'm not going to lie about that. I'm not going to like, oh, no, this is all me. I know how to do the graphics. I know how to pull these. I don't know how to do any of that shit, but I do have ideas.
Right. Have we said anything here that they can pull for your TikTok? Have we need, I hope I see something from this on your
listen, TikTok. First of all, let me just tell you this, because I got it was when you sent me, when you did this, and this is, you go, I think it was like, I named Richard Jefferson, something. I was like, I wonder if he's going to do something to it. I remember seeing it and I was like, oh, I got to do it and I got to get to it. But it got flooded. But this is reminding me to do that. I remember that.
I'm terrible. I'm more of a Twitter guy. You're more of a TikTok. Twitter, I can do. The TikTok overwhelms me. I need my nieces to tell me how to do everything, and it's not good. Now, so if you don't mind, if you don't want to, you don't have to. But I'd love to hear like the process though of like, there's a lot of videos on there where people are mocking you either for being bald or like you blew a dunk or something like that. So is it, you see that, you go to your people, you say, let's do something here. Give me the process if you don't mind. I'd love to hear it.
So there's multiple layers, right? If someone makes a video and I will pull and post, right? And I think this is part of the reason why I've grown a community. If I see a video about highlights or about basketball, especially if it's anything associated with me, I will pull the video, post it on my page, and either make a joke or I will tag them. So hopefully my followers see them and they can gain followers from it, and we can transition. But what I started doing, and I think the thing that helped my growth on TikTok, is I would start doing duets. Duets is when a person does video. So I would say, hey guys, send me your questions. So guys would send me questions of either being mean or being a smartass or cracking jokes, and I would respond to them. Right. Like, hey, so Ball Jefferson, hey, can you talk about this shot? And it'll be me shooting an air ball. And I'll just joke around and just be like, you know what? I don't like you. I don't like any of you guys. You guys are rude. And all that did, when you talk about the cycle, is if a guy has 50,000 followers and he does this video, now it goes to his followers and like, holy shit, Richard's responded to Hoopology, who's one of the guys that I follow. He responds to Hoopology. And then it sends it to them. Now, Hoopology is following me. Now, it promotes everyone to make more videos to try and get a reaction out of me. And I try and do as many as possible, because if you're going to spend 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sometimes longer making videos, and it either has an association to me, then I want to give back to you and show my appreciation, because it costs me nothing to put it on my page.
Love it. I get a huge kick out of it.
Thank you.
And it is funny because you can tell. See, I don't know. I mean, listen, I suspected you had a company working for you because a lot of the videos are very, like you said, with the green screen and the duets and this and that. But it is funny. Some of these guys, I'll say names like JJ Watt, Tom Brady, like, JJ Watt yesterday. And I know JJ, we're cool, but like he was playing golf and had said he had a hole in one at a par 3. The video of that was on Twitter, Instagram stories, and TikTok, all within like 5 seconds of each other. It's just like, but what I like about yours is yours doesn't feel that way. Yours feels a little more real and spontaneous and authentic. I think, it depends, because you're giving us good content too. It's not. Well,
there's Will Smith, like Will Smith, his production, his quality of production and the things that he's doing. That mine is more like grainy. I'm saying, like, even when I recorded my response to basically and just to give people, I saw the video, I recorded my response. I said what part I want them to clip. I was like, hey, just put the first 10 seconds. We don't need 20 seconds of them talking. We'll take the first 10 seconds. I'll do a response. Hey, here's the numbers of how well we played against them. Use that. And then I'm going to point, like, even in the video, I'm like, hey, look, somebody circle this, highlight this. And it's more of like, when you're doing it, it does feel organic, because you can be like, oh, wait, this happened 6 hours ago. Richard is doing a reaction video to this. And then you just put it out on your different channels.
Yeah. I mean, the ultimate point I want to get is that your stuff is great, but you're putting a lot of time every day into it. Like, you can't just half-ass it, and you got to spend time with that stuff. You really do.
Yeah, you got to scroll. Yeah. You got to scroll, and that's what happens.
I want to ask you, some NBA topics, and we can go quick. We'll just, the usual stuff here, but I like it. The load management is a big thing. What do you think is what ultimately is going to happen here with that?
I don't know. I hear a lot where people are going at the players. And I think if you're going at the players, then you don't understand it, right? Then you don't understand it. Players are not going to their coach and just being like, I'm tired. Players are not going to their trainer and just being like, oh man, I played 3 games this week. I think I might sit one out. This is the ownership paying massive amounts to sports science. The sports science has more control than they've ever had over our sport, and they are telling the coaches how much the players can play. That's the end of it. So when we say load management and it's an NBA problem, it is an NBA problem because in certain way, the NBA is the one that's doing it, right? It's not Adam Silver, it's the owners. And I don't know if it's going to be fixed, but it needs to be addressed. And I think there's some hesitancy to be like, well, LeBron James is playing 20 years. Would you rather have LeBron for 20 years or 16 years? Would you rather have Steph for 18 years or would you rather have Steph for 14 years? And so owners are looking at that as the investment in people that are selling tickets, and the NBA is built around stars. NFL is built around stars, but it's built around teams, right? And then fantasy football and gambling. So the NBA is a little bit different because it's star centric. So when stars are missing out, it's tough. And I just don't think I joked with Steve Kerr and I said, Steve, what is the training camp difference from when you came into the league to what you're doing now? And he said the difference between Siberia and Maui, right? Mm-hmm. That is the difference. Yeah. And so when you look at that, there's a 25% load that used to go on in the first 3 weeks, like Hell Week, first 3 weeks, that's eliminated. It's gone. So like if your workload was at let's say you started off at 100%. By the end of training camp and the start of the season, you'd probably be at 85. Now you're starting the season at 100, or you're starting training camp at 100, and you're entering into the season at like 95 because guys are staying in shape, guys aren't doing it. So it's like, you're constantly, they've eliminated back-to-backs. They've changed the schedule. They've done so much, and it's like sports science people, most of which who have never played basketball, never had to do this job, are saying, well, that's too much. That's too much. It's like, well, marathon runners, it doesn't matter if you're a track athlete, you have to train yourself to run a marathon. And I don't think people are doing that. And I think that's why again, I don't want to quote, but I'd love to see the numbers on the amount of Achilles and ACLs in the last 10 years and in the 10 years prior to that.
I think you hit on that with the money, because you lose someone making all that money now. It's way different than 20 years ago. I mean, the investment in terms of getting the years and the productivity, at the end of the day, everything, it seems to be about money. And I think that money is the huge factor in this too. I want to ask you about Ja Morant. That story obviously took a turn because now we know he's in, they didn't use the word rehab. I think it was counseling, but obviously there's a serious issue there. In terms of what happened, I feel like because of, now I don't know who released the pictures, the strip club, someone in the strip club, but then the pictures
the pictures right. are one thing.
So the pictures got released, and I feel like so much of the focus has been on the pictures and Ja Morant in the strip club. I mean, athletes go to strip clubs. This is not groundbreaking news. The gun is
People go to strip club. People go to strip clubs. Humans, men, women go to strip clubs. Not just athletes. Everyone. I won't say everyone.
Athletes can go more often because they have more money. How about that? Okay. Thanks. Yeah, I've gotten to know a lot of athletes over the years. You guys go a little, not you, but but my issue is the gun. And here's what I want to know. And I thought Shaq was great on this, because Shaq said, this all happened because Ja Morant decided to push the live button on Instagram, where in a place where that does not happen. Usually people are not going on Instagram live at a strip club with a gun. My issue is the gun. And what I'd like to know, and I don't know if you have any intel on this, but like, are we to believe the majority of NBA players are traveling with guns, have guns, or bringing, like, is this this is an isolated one-off incident because he's got problems? Like, what would possess him to bring the gun to the club? That's what I I don't know. Is that an athlete thing? What is that about?
Let me say this. Again, I don't know these numbers, but I do follow the news, as do you. How many basketball players have gotten in trouble with guns in the last 10 years?
Probably not many. But that's
part. But I'm just saying that's part of your answer right there. Like, is this an ISO? Because you're asking me a question. Do players travel around? One, you're not allowed to take guns on planes. You're not allowed to take guns into arenas. You're not allowed to do any of that stuff. And it's massive, massive, massive fines. Part of the reason why there are no more NBA fights is because if you throw a punch and you connect and you're making, if you get suspended for 5 games and you're making $200,000 a game, it's $1 million gone for just a punch. Is it worth it? So there's less fights now because the penalties are so severe. If you have a gun, people know about Gilbert Arenas. If you have a gun, you could get suspended for 50 games. 50 games when you're making $40 million is $20 million. Let's put that in perspective. So are there law-abiding men in the NBA? They're allowed to have guns? 1,000%. Just, this is America. We have our own, that's a different type of conversation. But to say, I don't think that athletes and players are walking around with guns, and I don't think that is.
Well, that's good.
That's why there was so much attention on this situation, because it was, I like to believe, isolated.
All right, good. And the other thing, I said this last week, there a lot of people will make the argument that because athletes are so high profile and have money, they need a gun to protect themselves. And that's a big thing with gun owners, is the gun is to protect themselves. But how many times has someone had to bring a gun to a strip club to protect themselves where, it's just not really a thing that happens. So
again, the Ja Morant situation, I think that's part of the reason why he's in this position of hey, he wants to get help. I don't know what it is. He just wants to reevaluate his decision-making, which I think all of America and the basketball community wants for a young man that has so much ability and so many opportunities. You want that. But I've stood by this. I lived in New York for 7 years. No one was more social than I was over that 7 years. If you need a gun, you can hire security that can have a gun with you at all times. If you want a gun in your home, you can have a gun in your home. It's no human being should be drinking or out partying. I don't know if he was drinking, but you should not be out socializing in a place with a weapon and brandishing that on social media. That is something that I think is 10 out of 10 should be addressed. I believe that Ja Morant is going to be okay, because I am hopeful. And I believe that this is something we've seen guys do far worse and repair and get back to work. So hopefully this is just decision-making of a young 20-year-old.
I don't want to be frivolous about this, but did you hear the comment from your colleague, Stephen A. Smith, when he was talking about this whole situation? And Stephen A. said that Stephen A. has never been a big strip club guy because he doesn't like the smell.
I did not hear that. And again, one of the beautiful things about our job is that sometimes I get associated with things that my colleagues can say, right? And that's like associating all basketball players together, right? It's like, well, listen, we work at the same job, we work in the same community. Like, yes, we are similar, but we are not the same. So
I just thought it was a funny comment.
If that's Stephen A's thoughts, I'm going to leave that to Stephen A. There's a positive and a negative to jokes that I can make. And so sometimes I stop.
Yeah. I mean, the Ja Morant situation is not funny, but there were a lot of funny things that came out of it. That line being one of them. And Des Bryant had a tweet about we need to stand together and boycott this strip club. And it was just you see all these things on social media that people take a stand against. And he was so passionate about defending the honor of Ja Morant having his picture taken.
But really quickly, I think, again, I do not know for certain. I will say this. I called the game in Denver. I was in Denver. I saw Steven Adams at the hotel. And then I wake up into the morning and I see a gun. I'm like, wait a second. They stayed the night here. So that was the part. So I do believe the pictures probably were more associated with the police investigation and the police asking for the tapes.
Yeah.
And then some of that becomes public record, right? I don't know. I don't think this strip club is out there posting pictures. That's bad for their business. But best believe if the police call and say, we have an investigation about an individual that had a gun on your premises, they they have to turn over tapes. They have to turn over all of that stuff. I'm not defending a strip club, but let's also keep the main thing the main thing. There was a mistake made, and they were trying to get to the bottom of it.
All right, last thing before I let you go.
I get to go?
I don't want you to go. I mean, I was going to ask you what city has the best strip clubs. I was going to have you do a whole breakdown, but I'll let you.
Let's see. No, Jack.
I had Ian Eagle, who you mentioned earlier on this podcast a few weeks ago, and he told a story about you that when you were on the Nets, there was a player. Oh God, I forgot the player. I knew I should have written it down. Who didn't speak English, and you told him if he wanted to learn English. Oh look, he knows. He knows where I'm going. That all that this poor guy had to do was watch the Chappelle show. And then Ian said that Ian was on the bus. The player came on the bus. Ian said, "What's up?" And the player said, "I'm Rick James, bitch." Is that your greatest prank, or do you have another one that you can share with me and my listeners where that even tops that move by Richard Jefferson?
No, but I've heard the best way to learn a foreign language is to watch television shows with captions on. And look, I'm not here. Zoran Planinic, I think it was Zoran Planinic.
Yeah, that's who it was. Yeah.
Zoran's still my guy to this day. Some of it is just like, bro, like if you're here and you're with us and you want to know what all of America is watching, Chappelle's show was the #1 show. Like, I'm not going to tell him to watch Charlie Rose on PBS, right? I'm like, you want to see some funny shit? Go watch Chappelle's show. And he watched it all and he loved it. And so I think, look, one of the things that I think people don't understand is that Europeans come over here, and as well as this is friendly, it is a foreign country to them, right? You go play if I were to go play basketball in Italy, like, you know what I'm saying? It's a different world. And I think sometimes, especially when they're coming over here at 19, 20, we talk about the difficulties with Ja Morant. Imagine you don't have to be Luka, but imagine being a foreign player that's coming here from Slovenia, that's coming here from Serbia. They don't Giannis, how much is his English improved? We love Giannis. He's like, I love smoothies. I had a corn dog today. It's amazing. And you're just like, they don't understand that. So if you can have fun and show them, I think, some funny and like American pop culture, help them understand what's going on, the things that move our country, the things those are the shows that I think are educational, if you will.
Charlie Rose turned out to be way more risque than the Chappelle show. That's for sure.
Yeah. I regretted saying that immediately.
I didn't want to step on you, but yeah.
No. But I'm just, look, Charlie Rose is what you used to listen to go to sleep, and now it's nightmares. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. There was actually a story. There were a lot of, I should say a lot, but handful of, I think it was baseball players who learned English from watching Friends.
Yeah, that's a common thing. That's a common thing. I wouldn't say Friends would be the best choice. There was a little bit of a lack of diversity in the show. But I for Friends is great. People don't get all in I don't know what your listeners are going to get sensitive. But I think to watch shows that have like, Seinfeld, right? Love Seinfeld. If I had to pick between Seinfeld and Friends, I would tell someone to watch Seinfeld.
Of course. Yeah. Not even close.
Not even close.
Not even close.
Yes.
Not even close.
You want to peek into American random culture, watch Seinfeld.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything is a Seinfeld episode. That's what I always say. I appreciate coming on, and good luck the rest of the season. I assume ESPN will use you on games during the playoffs.
Yeah, I hope so. One of the things that I think in this business is you're constantly trying to prove yourself. So, every time I go on the game, I try and make sure that I'm as prepped as possible. I'm surprised you haven't talked to me about the Knicks. I was really about to go in on the Knicks.
Well,
I'm just joking.
I was going to ask you about why Knicks fans hate you so much, because it seems to be a big
why they hate me. Why
I know, but I wanted you to say something inflammatory. Hopefully that
you wanted me to say something inflammatory.
Yeah.
No, I said, look. I said that I respect the Knicks. I respect their team. There's a little bit of a former rivalry going on there, but ultimately, Knicks fans are a very intense fan base. I try and compare them to the Cowboys, where they're unrealistically intense, right? And so that's the part that I like, messing with them, and they hang on every word. But there's nothing but respect for Knicks fans. There's nothing but respect. But within respect, let's talk some shit. Let's have some fun. I think the thing that makes them so mad is that they can't really say much about
Well, I was going to say
I played against them.
But it's also not a fair. I mean, you have the Hammer because they've been an embarrassment for 20 years. So
you said that. You said that.
Well, it's true.
I'm just agreeing with you.
Yeah. Listen, I was a diehard Ewing, Pat Riley, that team, diehard. Watched every minute of every game, and it's. I mean, obviously they're better now than they've been the last several years. But my God,
Knicks fans, you're very, very good this year. You are very good. Congratulations. Like they always say stuff like, oh, you guys just want to talk about us and shit on us. And I'm like, no, you guys are the biggest market in the NBA. We want you to do well. We're pissed off. Half of our anger is because we have to talk about a team that's been sub 500 18 out of the last 22 years. I'm making that number up. Don't fact check me, people.
Let me ask you a serious question. These are my words. The Knicks have been an embarrassment for a long time. They're good this year, but I mean, it was years and years of just pathetic stuff going on there. But every single player in the NBA, LeBron especially, I mean, they basically orgasm when they talk about Madison Square Garden, the Mecca, MSG. Players still get really ramped up for MSG. That's still a big thing, right? I mean,
yeah.
Just because of the building itself, the city.
It's iconic. It's iconic. Our parents used to watch, Ali Frazier there. People would go to concerts there. It's the most iconic arena in the world. That there's dispute. I think one of the mistakes that fans make, Knicks fans especially, is just because it's the Garden doesn't mean that the shit don't stink. And I'm not talking about the Garden. I'm talking about people aren't going to just flock as players to Madison Square Garden because I want to play in the world's most famous arena. There's a reason why people will choose Brooklyn. There's a reason why Kawhi and Paul George chose the Clippers. Say whatever you want about their performances. At the end of the day, there's a recognition that people are choosing other locations. Doesn't mean New York's not great. It just means they got to get their shit together, which they have. And they've done it in tremendous fashion. But don't tell me about, Richard always talks shit about the Knicks, when you guys just signed your first rookie extension since Charlie Ward. I was in high school when that happened. I played for 17 years and now I'm retired, and you just signed RJ Barrett. That means there was 20-something years of me and Jason Collins both got drafted and signed rookie extensions, right? There's been a litany of guys that have signed rookie extensions, and the Knicks had never done that because they had just struggled. So I'm not here to kick the Knicks when they're down, but swear to God, they got to the 5 seed on that 8-game winning streak. I swear to God, it felt like they were going to burn the MSG down. They were so excited. And I love that. Seeing Trae Young kill in the Garden.
The best was last year. The best was last year with that Bing Bong video. And then after that, just a complete disaster the rest of the season.
It did not go well. But look, I think
those people, I said this at the time, those people in that Bing Bong video, that's why I won't go to basketball. That's why I won't go to sporting events anymore. It's those people right there in that video. Screaming and yelling and go ahead.
One of the reasons why I stay off Twitter. One of the reasons why I stay off Twitter is because these people will ask for your job. These people are at NBA. Jefferson's an embarrassment. There's actually one guy that I wanted to address, and I'm gonna address him later though. But the people will say stuff, and it's just like, you would never say this to my face. Or you call them out and they're like, no, that's not what I meant. Or you have these hyper focused, whether it's Knicks or Boston, they're just so focused on their team. And if you give a differing opinion, they are ready to back up their stats and facts. And you're just like, guys, with all due respect, I like engaging with you, but I typically get paid to do my opinion. So I'm not going to argue with you on Twitter for X amount of hours. But if you ever want to just play, hey, Rich, let's have a conversation about this versus some of the nasty, mean tweets. And people are like, oh, well, this is Twitter. What do you expect? And it's like, I expect to not be on here.
Yes. Stay on TikTok with your 1.4 million followers.
Oh, you're a sweetheart, Jimmy. All
right, Richard, I appreciate it. I can't wait to see who you bludgeon next. I'm looking forward to the next.
I don't want to bludgeon. Just leave me alone. That's my only advice. Leave me alone. If
you don't start, you don't start, you finish. There it is.
Hey, listen, man. Let God's will be done.
All right, Richard. Take care. Are you going to do yoga now, or you did it already? What do we got here?
No, I did it. I'm about to go call a game for Meta, and then I have another Clipper game tomorrow. and then I do something else, and then I head out to call 2 Nets games this weekend.
Oh, nice.
So
with Ian or Ryan Rucco?
Hopefully it's Ian. Like, I've seen Ryan way too much, and Ryan gets a little sensitive because I tell him he's my second favorite behind Ian. And so hopefully he hears this, but he's Ryan's my brother. He's like my guy. But Ian, come on, it's Ian.
Yeah, Ian's the best. All right, be well. Take care. Thanks for doing this.
All right, thanks, Jimmy.
All right, bye, Rich. All right, joining me now, as he does every week for our Train of Thoughts segment from WFAN Radio in New York, SNY TV, my buddy Sal Licata. Sal, how are we doing?
All right. How are you? As we get closer and closer to opening day here, I'm excited about that.
I'm not locked in on opening day. I mean, I'm glad it's coming, but I don't have that anticipation yet. It'll build, I guess.
Here's the deal. If you do 5 shows a week, 5-hour overnights, you'd be dying for opening day.
Yeah. Well, isn't Aaron Rodgers carrying you right now?
Yeah, I mean, but even that, it's still been, as of this moment, the same stuff. You know, the college hoops, I'm not really into that. I mean, we'll do a little bit of it, but locally, yeah, I mean, a little football and mostly just waiting for the Mets and Yankees. Then it really starts to kick in a year.
Well, the big thing this week is the NCAA tournament kicks off. Now, we always have this conversation sort of around fantasy football, so I'm just curious, how many brackets are you going to fill out and pools are you going to be in?
None. I'm not doing any.
None.
Yeah, I don't think I've done brackets in a couple of years. It's a waste of time and money for me. I don't even enjoy it anymore. I used to love it. I don't enjoy it anymore. I'm always losing these turns. It's a waste of money. I just, it's not even the $20 or whatever it is. It's just a waste of time, really, for me. You?
So
how many are you in?
None.
You're not doing one either?
I haven't done a bracket in probably, I'd say 7-8 years.
Wow. Now, you bet the games individually?
Yes.
Okay. So at least you have that.
The bracket's amateur hour.
Right. My mother may fill out a bracket. Yeah.
I haven't watched a college basketball game all year, but I'll be betting every game of the tournament.
I get invites to these box pools. I did it last year, but it's just annoying to me that I'm checking the final score. I need to do something that I enjoy. And here's the problem and I'm not trying to pick on the same thing again, but with a wife and a kid, there's no chance I'm enjoying anything that happens
there is
on
a
the
theme
weekend
here.
with college.
So Thursday, will you watch any of the games?
That's
possibly.
Possibly. What time do they start? Noon, right?
Yeah.
I'm working the morning show. I'm working the morning show Thursday and Friday.
Oh, I got to write this down. I got to remember this. Thursday and Friday.
This is a wild weekend. Put your dog hat on here. So Friday, I'm doing the morning show Friday. I have an 11:40 flight from JFK to go down to Port St. Lucie. Then I'm doing a live show for SNY from there. And then I'm, going to watch the game and potentially
Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night, right.
Oh, that's a big day.
Yeah.
So you're doing 6 to 10 on WFAN Friday, get on a flight to Florida and do
at
a show at 6:00 for SNY.
Show is actually 5:30 where I'll be doing live. I'll be a part of it live from Port St. Lucie.
And when do you fly home?
Monday morning.
What are you doing Saturday and Sunday?
I think I'm going to hang out with Terry Collins on Saturday, and he has invited me over to his house. And then Sunday, listen to this. Last night, as we are recording this Tuesday night, the Mets heard me talking about my trip down there and all was joking around saying Merry Buckmas and all I want to do is meet Buck. They call me today and they say we can make that happen. Be there 10:30 Sunday morning on the field, batting practice. We'll arrange the meeting with Buck.
To meet Buck Showalter.
Yes.
This is like, it's kind of funny. Buck was my guy first, just so you know.
I know he's my guy now.
Buck was, a big reason for the Yankee turnaround that led to the dynasty.
How can you not love Buck?
So this is like a professional work weekend for Sal.
Somewhat. Initially, because Terry Collins lives down there, and I become friendly with him during the Baseball Night New York show. So he's like, "When are you coming down? When are you coming down?" I was like, "You know what? I haven't been to spring training in years since I actually went with Francesa years ago." And I was like, "It's maybe a good year to do it. I'm hosting the shows. Go have my face seen down there. Go meet some people and hang out with Terry." So I do think it is, somewhat of a professional trip. Yeah.
That's one sports thing I've never done that I've always wanted to do, and I will do it eventually, is go down and do some spring training games, sit in the stands, enjoy Florida sunshine,
Right.
the atmosphere. If you go to here in New York, you go to a Yankee game, the people there with the seats, they don't let you move. The tickets are $1 million, spring training. It's nice, casual atmosphere. I've always wanted to do that. So
a lot fewer people. It's calm. It's relaxing. Yeah. The players are more. I know you and I couldn't care less about this, but like families taking their kids, it's more accommodating. The players are more accessible. It's just a really nice. The only time I've been, like I said, that one time I got a nice feel for it. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Have you watched any of the WBC?
Very, very little. No. You into it?
Not 1 second. No.
I have a big problem, though, with players treating these games that are exhibition games with more passion and more care than they will come opening day. Like, that's just a fact.
But are players doing that?
Yes. You watch some of these games and hear the way that they talk about it. They play. I mean, Max Scherzer compared it, and he's somebody who's not there, but he called it a pseudo playoff atmosphere or a pseudo playoff game. These guys care about this stuff.
Yeah, but he's not playing, so... my thing is, I have no idea if any Yankees are there. I don't want any Yankees. I don't want any Yankees playing in the World Baseball Classic. I want the Yankee players to focus on the Yankees. That's how I feel. I couldn't care less.
Agreed, because that's what we grew up caring about, the major league teams. But a lot of players feel like they want to represent their country, even though it's a meaningless exhibition tournament. And they play harder than they do come April. It's just that's you watch them, you'll see it.
I find that hard to believe.
I'm telling you.
I find it hard to believe any major league player is playing harder in the World Baseball Classic than they do in Major League Baseball.
Do you think that players turn it up in the postseason a little bit?
Absolutely.
Then you'll see the difference. They treat this as if it's postseason games.
Well, okay. If you have a player... Right. But I can understand... Listen, a major league player... in the middle of July playing the Kansas City Royals is not going to be all amped up. If he's in this special tournament, then I get it. But don't act like the World Baseball Classic is like the Major League Baseball playoffs.
Right, but I just think that they care, and I'm not comparing it to the playoffs, but I feel like they care more about the World Baseball Classic than the way we view it, or you and I at least, as an exhibition tournament. And they treat those games. You're right. In April, it's 1 of 162 or game 5 of 162. But they don't treat those games as special as they do these WBC. And they're being paid to play for the Yankees, for the Mets, for the Padres, whoever.
Yeah, I'd rather no Yankee play in the World Baseball Classic. Just focus on the Yankees. Right. Unless it's Aaron Hicks or Josh Donaldson, they can do whatever they want. Did you watch any of the Oscars?
No, I did not. I watched the Chris Rock thing this week. I did not watch the Oscars. Did you get into it? What
do you think of Chris Rock?
I don't know if your review changed my perception, but I felt, and I like Chris Rock. I love
Chris Rock.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of his specials. I like him as an actor in a lot of things, and I've enjoyed his specials in the past. I did not think he was sharp at all. I didn't think it was good.
That's what I said last week. Yeah.
You know what the problem is? He's in his own head about the Will Smith thing. That's all anybody wants to hear about, unfortunately, is what happened with Will Smith. He's trying to get away from it, so he keeps that at the end. But if you notice, to your point, once he started bringing that up, that's when everybody got into it. I'm sure he's got
I thought his whole 10 minutes on Will Smith was great. It was everything before that I didn't find funny. And I love Chris Rock, so that bummed me out. So the Oscars, you didn't watch it, but were you familiar with any of like the Best Picture nominees?
Yeah, I saw. I saw The Whale, which I don't think got Best Pick, but I know he won.
He won, right? Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, so I don't think he was. I thought he was fine, but I didn't think he deserved it. I got to see Everything Everywhere All at Once.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah,
I did not see it. You didn't see it either?
No.
Now, will you?
No.
I will see it. I'm going to try to see it, if not this weekend, as soon as I possibly can.
I'm not sure I've seen a movie since COVID.
Really?
Well, I saw Elvis, which I didn't like.
All right, but that was nominated for. Was it Best Pick, or he was just nominated for it? That was
I saw that on I saw on HBO.
You know what I watched this past weekend?
What?
My Cousin Vinny. That holds up. I could watch.
I mean, everyone loves that movie.
Yeah.
There were two things I wanted to say about the Oscars. I didn't watch it, but I saw obviously everything on social media. The guy, I forgot his name, but the guy who was in that movie that you mentioned that won every award.
Right, Everything All at Once or whatever.
Yeah, who won Best Supporting Actor was in Indiana Jones and Goonies as a kid.
Oh, really?
Blew my mind away.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I thought that was very cool when I saw that. And then the other thing I saw, which I thought was so hysterically funny, was Jamie Lee Curtis won Best Actress or Best Supporting Actress. I forgot whatever it was for that movie as well. That movie won every award.
Right.
And Angela Bassett was livid. And no one at these award shows ever shows that they're pissed off. You know, they clap and she didn't clap. Well, first when they announced Jamie Lee Curtis, she was stone-faced, no clapping, no expression, nothing. Then the whole building gives Jamie Lee Curtis a standing ovation because I guess she's been an actress for like 100 years, and this was her first award. She's the only person in the entire building not standing up.
They showed all this on camera?
Oh, yeah. Ooh. Oh, yeah. And then when Jamie Lee Curtis walks off the stage, everyone's clapping. Angela Bassett's not flinching.
Oh, man.
I was cracking up.
That's rough. For what it's worth, Angela Bassett, I thought, A, looked terrific, and B, was fantastic in that movie. But I didn't see Jamie Lee Curtis, so I got to see that to compare. But that sucks.
I couldn't care less who was good, who was not good. I just love that someone at an award show finally didn't just, play nice. It
right, pretend to be happy about it.
There was no pretending. It was great. It's funny. Speaking of the movies, I saw a tweet over the weekend. And I want to read it to you because I figured you'd be a good person to get a reaction from on this. This tweet comes from Kirk Herbstreit from ESPN and Amazon, who always does a great job. This is what he tweeted over the weekend. Just saw Creed with my wife. Enjoyed it. Big fan of Michael B. Jordan and all of the Rocky Creed movies. But my question is this. Second movie in a row, 3 to 4 punk-ass kids, 12 to 14 years old, acting like disrespectful idiots during the whole movie. At my age with this happening, what's the play?
Wow. That is loaded. By the way, I forgot, I did see Creed 3 this weekend as well. And you will be excited to know this. There was basically nobody in the theater. Saturday afternoon, nobody there. So I didn't have to deal with that. I think you got to just let it go and just probably never go to the movies again, right? What are you supposed to do?
My dad used to go to the movies like every single weekend. He doesn't go anymore because he can't deal with the people.
You got to go at the right time. If you're going, I was surprised that there was nobody there. Saturday afternoon at 3 on a crappy weather day? How was that movie theater not packed?
Well, how long has that movie been out?
Only, I think this is the second weekend.
Oh.
But not even just the movie, because there were people in the theater. The whole movie complex itself, crickets. And this is like a popular, Island 16 probably on the island. I don't know. Yeah. It's one of the better ones out there. Like, I couldn't believe. I was looking at my wife. What day is it? It's Saturday prime time, like 3 o'clock. What the hell are people doing? But you can't. It's annoying. What are you supposed to do?
That's right. We had crappy weather Saturday. You would think that would be a.
Yeah. I would think. I don't know. Yeah. Unfortunately, here's the play: get up and walk out, or ignore it. That's it. There are two plays.
Yeah, if you're Kirk Herbstreit, the lead analyst of college football, you can't go start a fight in a movie theater.
Right.
But right. I replied to Kirk with the scene from Seinfeld when George tells the kids off in the theater after they're kicking the seat, and he goes, and he gives the whole rant about it. We'll take it outside, and he goes, and if you don't believe me, just try me. Yeah,
try me.
I'm like, what, is Kirk Herbstreit going to do that? I don't think so.
No.
Did you get any snacks at the movie theater?
Yes, my wife and I got a huge bucket of popcorn because she's like,
How
"What size
much?
do I get?"
How much?
Geez, we got a bucket of popcorn, a couple of drinks, and then maybe I got chocolate almonds. I don't know if there was something else. It was like 40 bucks.
I'm surprised. Wait, it had to be more than 40. Wait,
I
you got a
think we got
popcorn, two drinks, and
a
a
soda,
candy?
a water, a huge ass popcorn, and a chocolate covered almonds.
Had to be more than 40.
And cashews. No, it was like 40 bucks, I think. Yeah.
I don't think that's bad.
Yeah, I mean, I guess not now. Well, what's the water? They probably charge you, $3-4 per water.
Oh, you get in the movie theater? It's way more than that.
Popcorn, $10 at least. $40 for that? Like the popcorn should be $3.
I don't consider myself a cheap person, and you know me well. Maybe I am, and I don't know it, but I think I don't tip well. Cheap. But I'm obsessed with checking the prices of everything these days. It's just absurd. Like I went to the Cheesecake Factory last week. They charged me $5 for an iced tea.
I think you're getting old by checking the prices.
It's not that. It's because of the way the prices have gone up over the last year. Has nothing to do with me getting old.
Yeah, maybe. Well, it's just another thing to complain about. Jeez,
listen, I give you a lot of things about me being old. The prices are not one of like not going to the movies because I don't want to deal with assholes. That has to do with getting old.
Right. That's fair enough. I mean, I don't know. I just go in. I don't really. I can't consider. It'll aggravate me. It's another thing that'll aggravate me. So I just don't even pay attention to it.
I'm obsessed with what the price of everything is these days because of food specifically because of
Now I'm curious. I am actually curious. What the hell was what?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you got a popcorn, 2 drinks, almonds, and cashews, and you paid $40, that's a bargain.
No, well, maybe it was more than that. I don't
know. You got to be on top of that.
Yeah, no, I didn't. At that point, I didn't give a crap. I was out. We had the baby was at my mother's house. It was just my wife and I. I wanted to see the movie. I love going to the movies. You and I have been to the movies plenty of times. I love going to the movies.
Yeah, I mean, I used to enjoy it, but see, my thing is that this is like an OCD thing. If there's a movie I want to see it in the movies, not at home on my TV. But if it's a big movie, I want to go to the movies, and I like to go opening night. I don't want to wait and hear spoilers. I like to go that first night where I don't know a lot. Like Frank Costanza said, I like to go in fresh.
I'm going in fresh.
That's what I like. If I don't see it the first weekend, I'm off of it, basically.
Yeah,
but the problem is there's nothing for me to go see. I'm not into all this Marvel bullshit and superhero bullshit. They don't make any movies I like. You mentioned you watched My Cousin Vinny. When was the last time a movie like that was made?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great movie. Is this a sign of you getting old, or is this not?
No, because I've always felt that way. I've never liked superhero, sci-fi, Hobbit bullshit. Never.
Right, that's fair.
My friend Gennaro says I have no imagination.
You're not into, well, that is true. You're not into the Creed or the Rocky series at all?
Like, I saw the Rockies. Okay, it's enough already with the Rockies. How many are we going to make?
All right.
Can I get something different? Can I get something original? I'm craving something different.
I'm surprised you'd like to go on opening weekend. That is the last spot that I want to be. A big movie opening up opening weekend. No, thank you. I want to go when no one's there.
Yeah, because now see, that's a sign of getting old. Because I remember certain movies that I saw the first night it opened. Borat, American Pie. I mean, the energy and the atmosphere.
Private Parts. Did you see that one initially?
Private Parts. Yes, I did.
That was a great one, man. Yeah. I saw that opening night.
I think my greatest movie experience ever was Borat. Every seat taken, the movie theater packed to the rafters, and every person at the theater laughed from the first minute to the last minute.
It's funny when that happened. I remember old school being like that. Dude, we've obviously seen a ton of movies in our life. One of my most memorable moments was with you when we saw Bridesmaids.
I lost it in the movies, and I couldn't stop laughing. I could not stop laughing.
I put a loaded gun in Dougie's carry-on.
He's gonna get fucked up. That was the line, and I couldn't stop laughing. I could not control it.
Oh my God!
I could not control it. It was like the laugh where you can't control it. That was Yeah, that was that movie theater was packed too when we saw that movie that night.
Right, we saw that earlier. That was great too.
But Borat, I mean, people were like rolling in the aisles from laughing at that movie. It was so, and that's another movie that couldn't get made today because he would never be able to keep it a secret with social media, like all his undercover stuff.
Have I told you the story? I might have before that my sister was in the movie Borat.
I vaguely remember. I don't remember the details, but I think I remember you telling me.
So I had no idea about Borat or whatever at the time. And for years, my sister would tell the family, because she went to college in the city and she was going to experience the city life. My parents worried about it, whatever. And she would come home and told the story one time she saw some guy pleasuring himself outside the window at Victoria's Secret. And I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, geez, whatever. It's kind of all right. I could expect.
I did that last week. What's the big deal?
Yeah, right. I've seen worse, believe it or not, in the city. So she didn't really think much of it. And then one guy that she knew, I guess she was telling that story to, and he's like, "Wait a minute, that was in a movie." They showed the movie, and sure enough, there goes my sister walking right by with her head down, pretending like she didn't see anything.
It's wild that she never knew she was in the movie
until somebody brought it to her attention. Right. She had no clue. Yeah. I mean, you see her real quick walking by, but it was a great story because she would tell us for years that it happened and nobody thought anything of it.
I'm not even saying this to be funny, and you could give me like your take on it. Like, scale of 1 to 10, that's like a 4 for what you could see in the city.
If you're maybe somebody else would be more uncomfortable, and my sister in this spot.
Well, no, I'm not talking about being. I'm talking about out of all the insane things we've ever seen in this city. Like, I would put that at like a 4.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's not.
Like, I've walked into a subway car that had feces on the seat. Like, to me, that's way worse than someone pleasuring themselves.
Well, I guess it's who you. It depends on who you ask. But yes, I've seen multiple people. Right, going to the bathroom like number 2, multiple times. Yeah. Did I
ever tell you a story that when I was in a like one of those deli type places, and I was eating breakfast, and I had a plate like eggs and bacon, and some guy literally just walked up, took a slice of bacon off my plate, and kept walking. Swear to God, 100%. I'm not lying. Swear on Derek G's life, 100% true story.
Ooh, that's fantastic. What'd you do? Yeah. Nothing.
What was it was like being in a slow motion movie because, well, first of all, what am I going to do? Grab the slice of bacon out of the guy's hand? But like, it was all in one stroll, like literally one stroll up to my table, the bacon, and then boom, he was walking away. Like, I didn't even know what the hell happened. Like, I was trying to process what happened, and he was already 3 steps away, eating the bacon with the happiest look on his face.
Yeah, that doesn't even crack the top 50 of things that have gone bad in the city. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why you hear, he was,
no, I know.
Yeah.
You kind of get used to it, working in the city all those years, but
people listening to this, not from New York City, are never going to come here. It's not that bad. It's bad, but it's not that bad.
You get used to it. Yeah,
you get used to it.
Eventually, you just learn to ignore it.
Exactly. All right, Sal, have a good weekend in Florida. We'll see you next week.
I'll talk to you later.
All right, be well. All right, my thanks to Richard Jefferson and Sal Licata. If you enjoyed the episode and you're not a subscriber, go to Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, and subscribe to the SI Media Podcast. Leave a review on Apple. We will read it during an upcoming episode of the SI Media with Jimmy Traina podcast. And if you missed any recent episodes, go into the archives, check them out. Last week was an All Train of Thoughts edition with Sal. 2 weeks ago, Paul Heyman from the WWE. 3 weeks ago, Iron Eagle. So give those a listen. If you missed any of them, subscribe to the pod, leave a review. All right, that wraps it up for this week. We'll see you next week. Stay safe and take care.